Thanks for joining It's Dating with Katy, and today I'm giving you directly from the World Wide Web. I literally just Googled the best way to do sales. And in this world of dating, it is just like the world of sales. And I'm going to tell you the top 10 ways to be really good at what you're selling, and you are selling you. So thanks for joining today. Make sure you subscribe. It really helps me out. It moves me up. It helps the other 80%ers see what quality dating should look like, because come on now, can we just make dating fun again, right? I mean, I even have a coffee mug that says make dating fun again. It doesn't have to be such the drudgery. I just had lunch with my neighbor. Oh, the stories he told me, I'm going to share one today. It shouldn't be like this. So we need those 80%ers for this to come up into their feed, and we need them to see how to do it right, since you're the 20%er. So thanks for listening. Also send this to a friend. You might be married. I have married people who are listening to the podcast because the world is so intriguing to them, and they have single friends, and they're like, get this girl, Katy. I've got listeners who ask on the apps, like, have you listened to Dating with Katy? Are you a 20%er? I mean, word is getting out, so let's get it out even more. So do me that favor. And next, get in my database. I have amazing clients. I have people who I'm working with in coaching and also matchmaking. I've got a female in Colorado. She's a single mom. She's like, Katy, how can I do this better? I've got a gentleman in Florida. He's asking for coaching help. I am watching what they're wearing. I'm seeing what they're texting the person. I'm encouraging them, and I'm helping them out with whatever they need in this process so they can find their one. And then I have my matchmaking clients who are looking for vetted dates, fantastic women of quality, of excitement. I mean, if you're going to go on a date with one of my clients, you better show up like you're excited, because you're a chosen, and I want to make sure that you are that woman. So if you know that you are, I need you in my database. Work with me. And if you're a guy and you're tired of this dating stuff, you need to work with me. All right, well, let's get started. The 10 best dating advice, dating strategies taken straight from sales strategies. Okay, I mean, that's a long title. I'm not really sure how I'm going to word it, but basically it's this idea. I worked in sales. I did multiple kinds of sales. You name it. Go listen to my podcast 10. I think it's like 5 things about Katy you didn't know. You name it, I've done the job. I've owned a restaurant, which is a lot of selling, right? You got to make it pretty. You got to make it taste good. You got to make people want to eat it and spend the money for it. I worked at high-end retail, selling $800 dresses to women who already have a closet full. And the thing I learned from that is be honest with them. If it didn't look good on them, I wouldn't sell it to them, because they'd return it anyway. And they wouldn't come back to me because they couldn't trust me. So I was very honest with my clients. And to this day, they're still friends. And they know they can trust my opinion. If I'm like, girl, it's not your best, they're like, thank you, Katy. And they would come back. So I've done my season of sales. I know that I'm great at sales. I know some of the strategies. And I know that it definitely parallels how well that you do your dating life. So let's get started. Number one, the first thing you should do, okay, even before number one, right, is that you should know your market. So you know who you are. You should have your standards for what you're looking for. I've talked about the standards list. Then there's the preference list, but make sure that you know the market you're getting into. If you've recently moved, I'm telling you, even in Southern California, and I can speak to this, LA people are very different than Orange County people, who are very different than Long Beach people, who are very different than San Diego people. So if you are dating in those areas, it's a totally different market, even though it's the same state. So be mindful of that, really think to that, because that's going to make you more successful. All right, well, let's go with number one. You need to prepare for objections. Now, we all know the guy with the 3 fish photos. That's a no. We know the lady with the hyper lips and, like the way too much Botox. That's a no. So we can prepare for these objections on our online photos in real life. We can actually do better. So examples, if you have bad photos, change those, right? I can't tell you enough. I just did this for my buddy Jim. He swears by it. He said, Katy, the photos you took revolutionized. I have way more women in my queue. They are eager to go out with me. I've never had this many dates. Get better photos. I see this often, and yet still people even in my database are giving me junk photos. I won't pick you. you're not going to be picked, and probably you're not being picked because your photos aren't great. So get better photos. And that's on podcast 50, 51, 52, 53. I help you with not only your photos, but your bio. You've got to be memorable. You got to have some joie de vivre. Some of you are like so flat. It's like driving through Texas on a hot day. Not something I want to do again. This is why people don't want second dates with you. There is no eager excitement. There's no joy in your own life. So they don't want to be with someone who is not going to be bringing that to the table, right? So make sure that you do have that. All right, the next thing is some style. Not only should you have good photos, you should style yourself. You need that 2.0 look. So if you're going to have these objections, I literally have women who are like, his shoes look old, Katy. Yeah, your shoes look old. Go get a new pair. Go get a new pair, get some white sneaks, update. I have a great Amazon shopping list. My client in Laguna Beach, very wealthy, he bought 2 of the pairs on my Amazon list and he swears by them. He also bought the fun socks and the pocket squares. So go update your style. Ladies, I have the same thing for you. Podcast 60 is for how to style yourself sexy. Get some thigh-high boots for Pete's sake. Like, hello, sexy, that's a win. You put that in a photo, guys are saying yes, okay? Start working out. Both teams need to be working out. You know, I'm a big advocate for health and wellness, and because when you look good and you feel good, people see it and people feel it. So prepare for those objections and let's overcome those. Number 2, continue prospecting. Yes, keep going. You only need to find your one. My buddy, my neighbor, we went to lunch today, and honestly, he's like, Katy, he's 61, he's super fit, that's what he's looking for. These women are kind of flaking on him, and he's like, it's okay though, I'm gonna keep going because I'm looking for my one. So I like the positive attitude, and he, I gave him a suggestion. He'd never tried Facebook, and look, there's got to be somebody quality on each one of these apps. So sometimes you might have to change up the app situation, or maybe go out. I'm trying to get him to go with me to like a happy hour at North Italia because there's always great people there, but he's not there yet. So we did lunch. You got to change it up so that you are continuing to prospect. And also, here's a little hint. Tell people you're single. Ask them if they have somebody that they would set you up with. Not a lot of people like to, but if you find a married women love to do this. They'll think about it, and then they'll probably send you somebody. So get the word out. All right, number 3, do your homework. So number 1, you need to be vetting somebody. I have a whole podcast, 77 on that. The other way you can be doing your homework is before you go on the date. And my client does this. It's absolutely adorable. He actually writes out questions according to the bio that she has written. So whatever bio you were reading about that person, whatever you've bantered about beforehand, either on a text or on the phone, take notes and go back to those notes that you have, mental notes, even if you need to write them in your notes, and ask specific questions because it shows that you listened. Here was my test, and I have a whole podcast on tests because people do it, and here's one that I used to give. It was, if you didn't know my kids' names by date number 3, and I have 3 kids, because I talk about my kids, you are not a man who really listened and kind of heard me. So that wasn't somebody I wanted to be with. So if you're going to be doing your homework, do your homework on the person you're going to be taking out. And ladies, here's a little extra homework for you. Learn about guy stuff. Guys are so amazed that you have nothing to talk about but your shopping and your outfits and your Botox and the music you like. Maybe get to know some guy stuff. Learn about golf. Learn about NASCAR. Learn about fishing. I mean, these are really attractive ways that you can get a guy. Like, you don't need to know everything. As a matter of fact, don't know everything and ask him the question. So I used to always say this because I grew up golfing. I don't golf per se. I'll hit some balls and I can putt. And I'm competitive enough about it. Right? I'm not going to beat anybody, but I can hit a decent ball. But I will say this when talking with a guy. I'll say, I only like to play golf when it's a scramble. Now, if you know what a scramble is, it means you play the best ball. So that already tells him I know what the word is. And it also says, wait, I'm not going to be the best girl on the team, but I'll go in the cart and I'll play for fun. So learning these little nuances about man stuff, I mean, you can Google like 10 things men love to do and find out about it. Girls, do your homework. Number 4, you've got to relationship build, just like you do in sales. My husband is a phenomenal salesman. He loves his clients just like I loved my clients when I did retail. I wanted to know about their life. Girls, send me a photo of your outfit when you wear it out. Like, how was the concert? Show me the goods. Where did you eat before? I wanted details because I actually care about the people. Of course, I care about my paycheck, but I always care about my people first. And my husband does that as well in his business. We were both very successful in sales. And so you've got to really build that relationship. If she said, I'm going out of town for a work weekend, you've got to listen and hear that and then ask her about those details. Or I'm going out with my girlfriends tonight. Sorry, I can't make it. Ask her on Saturday morning. Hey, how was that? Get involved in their lives. Listen about their kids. I had a client go on a date the other day, and the woman's feedback said, he didn't ask me a single question about my son. You've got to build that relationship about the things that they're excited about in their life. So you've got to ask the questions, which leads us to number 5. You've got to ask good questions, right? Definitely important in sales. And I can definitely be a talker and move too fast and not listen. So I like to say that a date should be 50-50 talking. And oftentimes it does not go that way. I'm kind of a strong talker. So I've had to learn to really slow back and give people space to answer, even slow my speech. A client the other day and I had lunch and he said, Katy, what could I do better? I said, kind of slow down on your talk and be a little bit more swagger style. And I think the women will open up to you a little bit more because he's like me, he's a talker. And when the two of us got together, we're like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's a lot on a first date. So make sure if you are the talker to slow down a bit, ask the deeper questions. And if you need to know, Katy, what's a good question on a first date? I've got a podcast, episode 26, actually my number 1 most listened to podcast, 10 quality conversation starters. Okay, so moving on to number 6, you've got to show value. You've got to show that you are worth it. And that can come out in so many different ways. Of course, you guys know I love style and I love fashion and I love just keeping yourself well. That speaks volumes to anybody. So when you are selling yourself, then you are going to show up looking great. And I really think in that 2.0 process, and my personal story is in my 7 Steps to Sexy video series, and it's my frumpy to fabulous story. I was not always like this. I remember when my daughter said, Mom, you really glowed up. So there is definitely a process that you can do to change yourself and become more marketable at a higher resale value. So for example, if 2 houses are for sale on a street and one, they're pretty much of equal value, equal square footage, made in the same year, but one decides to really clean up their front yard, brand new flowers, fresh white paint, cute little Adirondack chairs, and the other one says, well, I'm not going to do that. They should just like me, like the house for what it is. Well, you tell me which house is going to get more interest, right? You're going to get the house straight down the street with the pretty front yard. Now, inside, both houses are great, same bones, same structure, but the one that's kind of redone itself on the outside is going to get way more interest and probably a higher ticket price. So make sure that you are showing value in yourself. All right, number 7, be on time for appointments. Woo! I can't stress this enough. I understand traffic, and I'm going to give you a little secret tip on how to check people, see if they're lying. But traffic happens, things happen. Be a great communicator about it, but do your darn best to show up on time. Now, ladies, I will say this. You can show up 5 minutes late. I'm okay with that. And gentlemen, this is your opportunity to send that text 5 minutes before she's supposed to be there that says, hey, I'm here early. Would love to grab you a drink. Would you like some water? Can I get you a glass of bubbly? Show her that effort, and it is a huge win for a first date. Second date, third date, right? You got there early. And ladies, it's okay if you're 5 minutes late. You start pushing that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's rude. And we're grown-ups here, so let's not do it. If it's a major issue, you do need to text a call immediately to make sure that this person knows. So show up on time for appointments. Number 8, you need to build trust. Okay, now that's a little bit different than relationship building. So relationship building, we're getting to know each other. Then we move into the trust section. And I think that's where you're gonna see women becoming more vulnerable. I know guys go on dates and they're like, Katy, she didn't touch me. She didn't flirt with me. She didn't even give me a compliment. It's because she doesn't trust you yet. Don't take it personally. It could have been some other guy kind of jacked it for her, which sadly jacks it for you as well. But she just needs time, and you need to do the right things to build that. So how do you do that? By being a good communicator, by making the plan. And gentlemen, this is a big space for you to be doing the work on building trust. And I need to do a whole podcast on how to build trust. But I did have some trust issues with my current husband. I look back now, stupid, crazy scenario. It happened in Vegas, and it was probably from liquor. And I'm telling you, I think somebody laced his drink. But we go back to podcast 34 and just listen to that. Trust issues in dating. I think that will be helpful. And I'm gonna do a podcast on how to build trust in the beginning stages. Like, what are the exact things, especially as guys, that you could be doing to really making sure she's feeling safe. And that is a big word for women. She wants to feel safe. And we'll get into that on that new podcast I'll do. All right, number 9, are you following up? You know that in sales and marketing, it probably takes 7 times, to reach out to somebody until they're finally interested. And I can tell you this, that even with my courses, even with my current clients, there are so many touch points before they make the decision. And so I know people are looking at the courses, they're thinking about it, they put it in the cart. I know my clients are meeting with us, I'm calling them, they're emailing me questions before the big phone call. And so really it takes the follow-up, it takes the caring, it takes the relationship building, it takes the follow-up builds the trust, right? And it's so important. You can do that via text, you can do that via, a phone call. Always find out someone's best way of communication, because that is huge, right? So if you need ideas for that, go check out podcast 45. 5 texts every woman wants to hear. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. And then also listen to podcast 32 and 31. And this is, I speak specifically on communication in one of those, it's my 5 C's, but communication is huge. And again, I kind of brought up the idea that if, she's a texter, great. If she's not, call her. I have a girlfriend, she wants a phone call. So gosh darn it, you better learn which way of communication that she wants. And then, you know what? I'm going to circle back real fast here too, because I said I was going to give you a little secret trick for being on time for appointments. I will say this, that if someone tells me, my kids included, that they're running late, the traffic is terrible, I always Google map that. If I know kind of the route that they're coming from, LA, you kind of know traffic flows. Well, I used to Google that and screenshot it just to double check, and I'd be like, oh, how was the 405? And if they said, oh, I was on the 91. Okay, well then, no big deal. But if I knew they were on the 405 and it was green, they were just running late. And look, those are just things you can put away. You don't need to call them out on a first date. But, being with someone who's kind of considerably late all the time or is lying to you about being late, that's not cool either. All right, well, here we go. Number 10, never trash the competition. Now, you guys, I know you can trash your exes. You can trash, that guy that, she's probably dating too. Stop. Let's all be confident in who we are and what we are bringing to the table so that we can take this strategy and be confident, get successful, and have some fun dating. All right, you guys, I hope these were helpful. Again, I've got multiple podcasts throughout. I will be doing one on how to build trust with a woman. So let's wait for that one. And until then, happy dating.